I should have used Suzanne's. Suzanne said that she could give me hers, and I was like, no, we want to stick to the 40 minutes, but it didn't even give us 40 minutes. Hi, unmute yourself, Sophia.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad we're back.
I'm irritated with Zoom. That was not 40 minutes.
That went fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, or I see 6 people, so a couple more people are trying to come on. Yeah. 7 people. Wow, 70% returning. That's good as it is. It's happy with just the 4 of us. And I know Robin's read the book front to back too, so I would love to know what question, if we have time now, it seems too. So
yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
I loved your book. It was just incredible. And so, like I said to you, it was so refreshing. So refreshing. And I just want to thank you for, your journey. And that's going to help so many people.
Thank you.
Just it's like a very user-friendly guide to so much.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's what my hope was. Yeah.
You know, and hello, little one. Hi. Questions, I'm not sure, but I just wanted to share that I feel like right now is the time that people are going to be reaching for these capacities, and they're going to need a roadmap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You've trudged it already.
I think a lot of us have in our own ways. You know, everyone's got some, very rarely is someone like, I've never had anything happen. No one just took it and made it the center point of their life and made their whole life rotate around it. Like, you know, that's the scientist part. Is beautifully setting up an intention. I'm going to live my life entirely by everything that's intuitive to know what's possible and to heal my life. That was it, right? And that's 20 years of that. And so I think it's just that. I think if anyone did the same thing, they'd actually come to a similar thing. But you know,
you chose to do it, and wow.
Like if someone's like, I'm going to throw the javelin in the Olympics, if they rotate their entire life around that, and every day, every action is thought about that, and they're doing it all day long, they're going to have a pretty good chance. Some people are going to have some arm strength and coordination that's, be like, there's gifts there. I do have gifts there in my family. It comes easily to me, naturally to me, more than most that I've met. And I put 20 years into making it a 24/7 focus. So it's just a combination of those two things, I think, with the purpose of really healing myself was a huge motivator. And then the second one is really like, oh, if this is possible, the world needs to know about it, because too many people are suffering like I have, and we could be using these tools to heal ourselves rather than, what the medical system does to people, what society's rules and expectations does to people. Like if we can find our own answers and clear the clutter to our inner selves and work with nature's reality and systems to ease our flow, everyone deserves that,
And you articulate it just so incredibly. So I highly recommend, if there's anyone on here that hasn't seen it, read it, need to.
Oh,
Agreed.
I just wrote, I can't wait to see it. Yeah. And it's right on that, it's called Life Beyond What I Know, but you can order it in 12 countries. It's linked on that website. It's really easy to get on Amazon. Yeah.
So,
I've already bought several copies for friends. They're being delivered. I'm like, this is awesome. You gotta. Yeah.
A woman in Panama that read it, she said, this is the brainy person's guide to to intuition and their inner knowing. So that I like that a lot.
Sophia, you've got a great voice. Do you have an audiobook yet or not yet?
Yeah, thank you. That's really sweet. I actually did the audiobook to do the final edit. So I read it out loud to make sure it
Good
sounded
idea.
the way I thought it should, and edited all the way along the way before I sent it for the print publishing. Then I had it cleaned up by an engineer and I uploaded it all this weekend. So any minute, they said up to 10 business days, but any minute.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed narrating it actually. It's more than I knew. And my boyfriend is this voice actor. And he was like, you could do this professionally. I'm like, I think I am.
I am doing it professionally.
I think this is what my vessel is going to be used for. Because I have 7 more books ready to go.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And one picks up at the end when I was guided to Hawaii to lead a sustainability movement, which Robin watched me do in Hawaii for a number of years. And that's a whole book on that journey. And then the other book is a distillation of called The Book of Inner Clarity, about how I learned to clear my system of vibrations that don't serve me from society and internal, and from my mind and my emotions, to be able to access my own golden compass. So that's the 2 books that I'm going to do next. And they're ready to go. I just got to get them uploaded.
So excited.
Oh yeah, same. Yeah.
So can you talk more about, I love this in the book, and I've been integrating it, not as much as I would like or need to, but it's a good first start of the every turn, right? Of, is this the right, is this, do I feel expansion or do I feel compression? What was the, it wasn't
Contraction.
collapsing.
Contraction.
Yeah, collapsing or expansive,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And I would love for you to talk more about what that looks like. I went on a walk the other day, and just around my property, and I used it, and it was really interesting how well it works. Because I'm like, really? Again, I've experienced it before in the past. I know it is to be true, and I've lost it.
Yeah.
Not completely lost it, but right? So in every turn, it was this definite expansion or collapsing. Like it wasn't hard.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, the first place I'll start with this is nature herself. I mean, we are not the only animal that doesn't have instinct. That's not true. Right? And we didn't develop this cognition what we've done is dominate our instinct with it. But the beauty of what it could be doing is working with our instinct. And the way that I think that best happens is we use our cognition to embody what we know we want to know and have and experience. And then we use our instinct to match up with that. I think that's what cognition's role is, because, Leela, just my pup, she just wants love and food. So she's holding love and food all the time. And her beacon is going wherever that is. She can feel where the love spot is in the room, and she goes and wedges herself in there. And so we've evolved this to go beyond love and food. Can be purpose, can be the first talk I have after my book is out. So I feel like this is supposed to be in service of that expansion versus contraction. And I think the expansion and contraction is instinct. I think animals are feeling, oh, this is the direction to go for the love and the food. And we're supposed to be using this to bring more nuance into what this could be bringing us. And so that's one thing I wanted to say. The second thing I want to say is that if we were to start in any place at all, like anyone that's coming to this, whether you're seasoned or not, I have to do this all the time to recalibrate myself, is to try on an experience that felt expansive, that you knew that was the direction to go, and walk yourself through it and remember in your body what it felt like. Like when I said yes to her, even though there was 2 dogs and I'd only seen no other dogs, I was like, oh, it's her. I know it's her. And when for me, what that felt like was like my whole being, my shoulders went back, my chin lifted, and my heart felt expansive. So for my signal of like expansive is that.
Mhm.
And I trust when I feel that. And sometimes I'm like, I'm feeling this about Los Angeles, a last place in the world I want to live. Whenever, after living in Portugal previously, or, someone saying, I'm going to give you a place in Portugal to live for a year for free. And I'm like, what? I'm contracting, what my shoulders are going forward, I'm going like, what? And the rational mind is going, of course, that's what I want to do, but that's not, I'm contracting for it. So I feel like you can pick up what that signal is when your system knows that you're on track to where you want to go. You have to have I call it the golden GPS, the golden compass within us, like sometimes the DPS, the divine positioning system. And so walking yourself through when you know and when you don't know, when the collapsing, and getting used to that. And then what you're talking about is the third thing I want to talk about is practicing. So I would know that I needed to go to the state capitol for a bill that I put in, and I need to see this senator, but I don't know where he is in the building. And I would just hold me talking to the senator and us just finding each other and talking. And I'd go, oh, I'm supposed to turn left down this hall. I'm supposed to go up these stairs, because when I got to each fork in the road, I'd either feel that feeling or I wouldn't. And I would practice in Hawaii, not pulling out a map. We didn't have GPS then. And I would just be like, I want to be in a beautiful beach where there's no people and I can have quiet. I don't hear the road or the ocean, and I see dolphins, and I can feel it. I can feel that experience. And I would just go, oh, I'm going right. Oh, I'm going left. And sometimes I would be like, I want to go on a journey where I get surprised in the most wonderful way. And I turn left and I drive half an hour and I go into a crystal shop and get the most beautiful crystal. And it's a surprise. And so I would say those intuitive adventures I liked doing that alone. And I did it through all of British Columbia, all of Hawaii, all of Europe. And it's a feeling. And one of my favorite ones to do is I want to be pleasantly surprised. Like, I just want a moment where I'm like, and then someone run up to me at the grocery store, or I'd get something in the mail. Little ways to practice.
I love that. I'm taking notes. The intuitive adventures, right? Oh my gosh.
Intuitive adventures. Oh my gosh.
I love it.
So it's refined to this point right now where I know I have a poem for a friend I want to put in a picture frame. And I just get in my car and I go left, and then I pull into a driveway and then a parking lot that I don't know. And then I walk up and I walk into the store and I walk to the back and to the left. And I put my hand out and it's in my hand. Yeah. And so I practiced it with a bunch of sort of younger godchildren, teenagers. We called it angel shopping. And their mom would give them a certain amount and we would go out, and I'm like, we're supposed to go to this store and there's 3 things, 2 are up high, 1's on a lower shelf. The one on the lower shelf's a purse. The 2 up high are going to be tops that you love. 1's long sleeve, don't turn away from it. And they'd go and do it. So we just practiced, and it can be so refined. It's insane.
I love that. And you and I had previously discussed of, I'm going to re-ask the question because so everyone can hear this, of I've heard of, I've met other intuitives. I've been an intuitive. I have never met or been so intuitive that it's like specific things. And I know that happens for you. One of the examples that you used was you were having some tech issue and your angels told you that it's this setting and this program and to do that. Right.
Yeah,
and
that's true. Yeah.
That's incredible, right? And I remember you saying, I don't know how people live their life not being guided. Like how do you possibly survive? How do you do this? And after seeing what it can look like, I'm finding that I'm asking myself the same thing, right? Of like, yeah, how can we actually survive? Wouldn't that be amazing to have that level of support and guidance? Very, very specific level, right?
Anything I do this for, it's for that. It's like, I think if I didn't have this, I'd be back to feeling anxious, depressed, overwhelmed, fearful. Life would feel hard and drudgery. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's like almost everyone I know. All my 20 teenage goddaughters and godsons from all my friends are all struggling because they don't have this act. They've been cut off from their knowing by expectations in school, and they're depressed and anxious and cutting. And it's really dire. And so I do feel like it's really hard to it is really hard to put myself out there. It took me 6 years to be brave enough to publish this memoir, and it was hard family work. I've lost family members from this that will probably never come back. But I made the choice to stand by not my story, and not block it because they won't look at their story. And the reason there had to be a motivation to do that, for the exposure. I have my memories of being burned at the stake in other lives. I mean, this is not easy. It's not easy. And I do it as a swan dive into the abyss of trust, because every person I work with or talk with, or every teenager that I take on angel shopping, their life has changed, and they find access to themselves they didn't know was missing. And I will give my life to that. I will take what happens from this journey, because that outcome is going to happen. And it happens all the time. So that's what makes it all worth it. What you're saying, that you're starting to live that way.
Yeah. And it's an incredible way to live, and just having that awareness being opened up again of we can live in a different way, and it will bring us closer to living that most fullest life, right? The lives we really freaking love.
Yeah.
And
that are in us. Like, we don't need a teacher. We don't need that system. We don't need my book. We just need to remember that it's our nature to have this extra layer of knowing and connection, and that there's a super information highway of information that's invisible that all of nature is using, and it's working out really well.
Yeah.
And if we remember how to reenact that part of us that's innate in all of us, then we can have that access too, and we can know where the water is, and we can know where the mate is. And it's just, to me, it's more nature than anything. It's remembering, not cutting ourselves off from that, but nothing trains us or shows us. And most of the systems in place wanted us to forget it, if we're real, right? So to remember is to re-empower ourselves, and it takes nothing but remembering. And if my book is one of the avenues someone finds that way, then I'm happy that that's my role,
Absolutely. So my husband and I were in corporate IT for 20 years, right? And then January 2017, same week of each other, we both got laid off from our jobs. No, didn't know it was going to happen. It just happened all of a sudden. Our cats, who were our babies, had died the previous year. And we were like, well, if this was a red flashing neon sign in front of us to do something different, this is it. And we decided to travel full time, and we went up to Alaska. And for the first time in my life, it was exactly what you're talking about. And I have lost it again. I know that it will come back, but for that first year, it was completely being guided by nature and intuition, and being in nature, which I know you feel really passionately about, and you talk a lot about in your book. And it's something that I talk a lot about too, because we are so far removed from nature in around the world cultures, and especially in the United States, right? Especially highly developed countries. And it's taken us further and further away from nature, which is what our true essence is, and what really does allow us to live abundant, full, fulfilled lives.
Yeah.
And where we don't have worries, and we don't have anxiety, we don't have the stress, and we don't have the distractions, and we don't have all of it. You find that when you remove yourself from the distractions. It's very hard for us to hear any guidance when we're so distracted all the time.
Yeah,
Right?
and I agree with you that the fastest way is to remove yourself, even for an hour.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is how little it takes.
Yeah.
Like even to leave your phone at home for an hour and go, I have an hour between meetings, I'm going to leave my phone and I'm going to walk and see where my feet take me, or turn it off and put it in my pocket until it's time to go home.
Yeah.
Even that, or having a Saturday, instead of going shopping or doing errands, go into a park and just walk around and feel what you feel and see where your feet take you. And
Nature is so healing. And I think that so many of us look at it as a cliche type thing, but it is not cliche. It is 100% true.
That's what I say to a lot of this. They're like, well, you can't really do that. I'm like, have you actually really tried?
Right.
Like, it's like, I really give it a solid try without doubt and be like, I'm just gonna believe this is possible and just see what happens.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it gets dismissed before it's tried often.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. Should we see? I think someone wrote a question. So looking forward to reading your book. I've been feeling called to writing a book. I was finally given the title topic by my guides and/or intuition, which is awesome. You've inspired me to go ahead and get started on it. I guess it was more of a comment. That's awesome.
That's
Yeah,
awesome, Kristen.
yeah, yeah. Does anyone else have a question or something they'd like to talk about? Maybe we're complete then, unless you have any more questions, Rose.
Let's see. The last thing that because I find it again so important, and it was something that I really resonated with you in your book, and this goes back to along the same lines as what we were just talking about, is being alone and creating time to be alone.
Yeah.
And how healing that is, and how uncomfortable it can be until we get to the other end of healing in it. And I think we could do a whole nother hour on this, which we won't, but
yeah, it's a great topic to close on, I think. Yeah, I get you. I think it's beautiful. Instantly, I flashed to a conversation I had in the first year I was in Hawaii. And someone said to me, and it's an amazing person, it's Obama's sister's husband, you know him. He said to me, I had this path like you have. Why did you get so much further than me? And he was from Toronto, Canada as well. And I was like, I was really willing to be alone. And he was like, oh, you know, as he has a wife and a dog and a child and an adopted child, like, so there, he instantly got that was the difference. And if we get into the nuance of why that's the difference, it's the same as being in nature. We're, as much as we turn away from nature, we turn away from our nature. And we can't know our nature. And I think I wrote this in one of my, I was also compelled to find who I was undefined by anyone else, by anything else. And I realized that, you know, 28 or whatever, I had from, you know, high school had been like, where am I going to get the career that's going to make the money where I can survive and support myself? I had just been on a track of survival and societal accomplishment, checking all the boxes, making sure my credit score was this, making sure I got a credit card by this age, like, you know, all the things. And it was then I was like, when I was crippled by my life and saying I did all the things, but I'm lying in bed depressed and crying and nightmares and like this it's not working. Only then, and I started to be forced by science to leave my crew, to go to Central and South America, to go to British Columbia and take a job where I was alone 90% of the time in the interior doing sales through this remote vast land. Life forced me into aloneness that I would have never chosen, nor had I seen any model of anyone choosing that. There was no example of someone going alone to do anything, or to like no example of anyone not getting married. No example, like there was no example like anything that wasn't the societal checklist. And when I was forced into it, it was like, oh, this is outside of the matrix, is what I thought from watching that movie. Like, and I could feel that expansion and contraction and then follow it and have results no one else could get by any other means. And that became way louder and more interesting than being with other people that would dilute the experience. And I wasn't bored in being alone. I was in the laboratory and being alone, and the experiment required no one else's energy to influence the flow, to feel the flow. So yeah, my friend, you know, you've heard of FOMO. I had like FOMO, like fear of being included. And people would ask me, do you want to do this? I'm like, no. I get up at 5 o'clock and do yoga, and then I go into the jungle. Like it was riveting to me, like a good book you can't put down versus what everyone else was doing, which was like school ends at 5, you go to the bar and have a beer. That anything that was mechanical wasn't interesting. And I guess I think the richness of alone compared to not being alone was the magnet. It was more interesting, but it only was made possible by me getting over my panic attacks, by experiencing them every day for 8 months until they began to dwindle. And it was about 10 months when they stopped forever. But I had to face that traumatized part of me that was terrified of being alone, from abandonment, you know? And when I got through it, the world opened up and I remained peaceful with being alone ever since. And it was a gift I gave myself, but the trauma stood between it. And that's a lot of things that I think people won't be alone because of they'll face the parts of themselves that are really hard, that have to be healed. And you get the gift of peace in being alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a major concussion over a decade ago, and I was under the care of a neurologist, and it was totally debilitating. It was horrible. And I ended up going to investing in an Ayurvedic spa week. And it was a week in silence. You were alone the entire time unless you were actually getting a treatment. And I remember being so scared of what I was going to find. Am I going to realize that I'm a horrible, awful person? That I have these, demons inside, and that I'm just, and that goes into, worthiness issues and all that type of stuff, but like all the trauma, right? And I remember so vividly, I will remember this until my deathbed, of sitting there journaling, and in big, all capital letters, the realization that I found was that I am strong. I am strong. I'm not a horrible, awful person. I am not unworthy. I am not afraid anymore of being alone, because I think so many of us are, because we are afraid of what we're going to find. And what we find is that we are strong, resilient, amazing human beings.
Yeah.
Right. And it's
I mean, I don't think there's many
Yeah.
guarantees in this world, but I think when someone goes to authentically heal themselves,
yeah.
the gift at the end of that path, even if there's a lot of apologies that need to happen, is self-love.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Sophia. My goodness.
This has been a joy. I loved it. Thank you. This has been amazing. And thanks everyone for the questions. And yeah.
I will put in the group, how to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
And I love, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone who came, and your energy, and it was amazing. So
yeah, really special. And we're gonna have the recording somewhere, maybe posted on your posted on my Facebook.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll send recordings that will absolutely be in the Live Courageously, Live Vibrantly for you to go in. And then Sophia is going to have her access to that as well. So yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
All righty.
Have a
Thank
great
you,
night,
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rose.